Good morning, everybody. Today is the 15th of June, and exactly, oh my gosh, in exactly 13 days, it'll be my special day. This is my official pride tag that I got from Miss Kellie, and I'll be doing that. So going forward, that's what I'm going to be doing with all trans related issues. For instance, the other day I picked up this book. It's a 2-week loan from LGBTQ plus community, or LGBTQIA plus community. We all have a right to be respected, identified, and loved. This is the first book that I got. It's called No Way They Were Gay. On the front cover, the only one that I know their names. I mean, I recognize their faces, but it's kind of iffy on the names. But the only one I can think of is Abraham Lincoln right here when he was younger, you know. So The Hidden Lives and Secret Loves by Lee Wind. And the other one, literally, who I am, it's this one, Gender Identity. And the thing about gender identity is, you know, people can always surprise you. They literally can. They can literally, big time, right? And regarding the current climate, the current theology, the current understanding of everybody in the world, in the news, in politics, in point of views or POVs, there's a lot of information, good, bad, and in between. You know, what I find interesting is that we as a society, we literally bring it to the forefront and progress. You know, I live in Wisconsin, and it's got the motto, it meaning Wisconsin, we have the motto of forward, right? Progressive, you know. And lately, Governor Evers, which is running for election next year, think about that. Think about that for a second. Just think about that. You know, if you don't vote for a progressive or a liberal or a Democrat for that matter, where are we going to be going forward after this? I'm asking you Wisconsinites. I really am. This is my platform to discuss anything. And it's very important for policies and publications and information literally shared to everybody. So, point being is that, you know, I'm happy that Governor Evers is making a way. He's making a pathway. He continues to do that. And he stated even in his address that he was going to continue doing this. If he's governor, he is going to continue doing it. But if we elect, or if we get somebody that's conservative in the House, or should I say representing Wisconsin, we're fucked. You know, if we get someone in the House that's representing Wisconsin that is, you know, gonna throw us back how many years, we are literally fucked. Pardon my expression, but we are. When I was growing up, gender and identity had two separate meanings. Literally. You had gender, whether you were male or female, and you had your identity, whether who you were, what you did for a living, who your family was, blah 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 blah. It keeps unraveling, right? That's identity, gender, and then identity. Now we mesh them together, and the thing about it is, with trans individuals, including myself, we happen to be, we know who we are, we know who we identify as, And all we're asking is for a bit of respect, love. That's all. That's all. Versus a preacher or a pastor at a Texas church telling people that we ought to be shot in the head. Think about that for a second. Does your hatred towards a specific minority group preclude you to want to shoot somebody in the head for no gosh darn reason? Seriously? Does your hatred towards a human being give you that much effect towards the rest of us? Seriously. In my opinion, that guy that said that should literally be put up on slander as a hate crime even. Because, hello, you have the community that is LGBTQ plus, and you tell your congregation people ought to be shot, or gays ought to be shot in the head. What message are you relaying to your congregation, let alone your community? Seriously. Number one, God loves us all, regardless of your doctrine, whatever your belief is. God loves us all. God is love. You know, what would make, what would you think if God came down on earth and said, get a machete, not a machete, but get one of those guns or Uzis and just kill all of us? It's like, who would be standing yet? I mean, for one thing, I believe all of us are in the wrong in that case. Not just lifestyles or how we live our life. No, and I hate that word lifestyle. When it concerns everybody, it's like, well, what's your lifestyle? Well, if a person says that they're gay or lesbian, well, that's your lifestyle. No, that's not my lifestyle. That's who I am. That's not all who I am, but that's who I am. That's who I identify as. Point being is that really we got to take a grip. We got to take a pause. Literally pause and move on. And I think that person that preached to his congregation needs to literally get a grip. And not only get a grip, but take a time for a reflection. Hell, who knows? Maybe he's gay and he's telling his congregation. 9 times out of 10, if a person is that menacing, they're going to have something hidden. Big time. Big time. Hi, I'm back again. I wanted to let you know I'm actually reading a little bit more into this. This reminds me of a college book than anything else. And I don't really care for college books. I'm not in college anymore. I graduated cum laude from college back in 2015. Point being is that, there comes a time when you gotta make things right. So anyhow, it says transsexualism as a disease. According to transgender psychology Professor Madeline H. Wisden, the 1980 DSM-3 included the diagnosis of transsexualism for those distressed by their gender assignments from birth and who demonstrated at least 2 years of continuous interest in removing their sexual anatomy and transforming their bodies and social roles. 2 other forms of gender identity disorder were included in that addition: gender identity disorder of adolescence or adulthood, transsexual type, and gender identity disorder not otherwise specified. Winzen, I think that's how to pronounce that last name, points out that the media overlooked these latter diagnoses in favor of the more inflammatory term transsexual. The 1994 DSM-4 replaced the diagnosis of transsexualism with that of gender identity disorder, or GID. The GID diagnosis was to be used for those with a strong and persistent cross-gender identification, persistent discomfort with his or her sex, or sense of inappropriateness in the gender role of that sex. So basically, the person that was assigned at birth as either male or female based on the anatomy that you have, that the doctor sees, is what is going to be on your birth certificate. let alone that's what you are claimed to be when you are born. As such, having a diagnosed case of GID earned transgender patients the stigma of having a mental illness. In the fourth edition of the DSM criteria, the diagnosis of GID remained the same. The DSM-IV or TR, which is the translated updated version, DSM-4, also specified that a gender dysphoric child must demonstrate at least 4 of the common criteria to qualify for the diagnosis of GID. 5 of them are repeatedly stated desire to be or insistence that he or she is the other sex. Number 2, in boys, preference for cross-dressing or simulating female attire. In girls, insistence on wearing only stereotypical masculine clothing. Strong and persistent preference of cross-sex roles in make-believe play or persistent fantasies of being the other sex. Intense desire to participate in the stereotypical games and pastimes of the other sex. And last but not least, 5, strong preference of playmates of the other sex. The behaviors described in these diagnostic criteria are those seen and experienced by transgender children around the world. Going forward, gender dysphoria. In 2013, when the DSM-5 was published, I'm just going to say finally published, the diagnosis of gender identity was replaced that of gender dysphoria. Change, while still identifying mental concern, shifted the emphasis in treatment from fixing a disorder to resolving distress over the mismatch. It also removed some of the stigma associated with having a mental disorder, since transgender individuals do not necessarily feel distress about the mismatch between the sex assigned to them at birth and the one with which they identify. Many would not qualify as gender dysphoric, like the 1973 decision to remove homosexuality as a mental disorder. Mental illness. This shift recognizes that a person can be homosexual, or in this case transgender, and psychologically distressed or psychologically healthy. The sexual orientation or gender identity is not the problem. Rather, the problem is the distress felt by some of those persons. The one thing I did not like about this film, after Hilary Swank was in it, she stated regarding to Brandon Tina as her, when she, meaning Hilary Swank, should have been referring to Brandon Tina as he, or how they identify as. For instance, if Brandon Tina referred to themselves as he, him, or his, referred to them as that proper pronoun. Or if Brandon Tina referred to themselves as they, them, their, referred to themselves as who they are. So the first one would be Boys Don't Cry, 1999. Here's resources for schools. I'll actually put this in the description. Several organizations provide extensive online material that schools can use to guide their ventures into becoming more gender inclusive. 2 are listed briefly here. Check the resources section in the back of this book for more. So I will just put this information in my description. Check it out. Documentary, Call Me Malcolm, 2005. Contemporary film, Freak Show, 2018. Documentary, Being Me, 2014. That's cool because that's from the Explore Further Kuvagam Festival. Short films of India's Kuvagams Festival can be found online. Spoken narratives. Lucy Hicks Anderson. Lucy was a pioneer in the fight of marriage equality. Carlette A. Brown learned she was intersex during physical exams while serving in the U.S. Navy in the 1950s. Sir Lady Java. Lady worked as a female impersonator in Los Angeles in the 1960s. Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha was one of the first instigators of the Stonewall riots and a leader of the transgender community in Greenwich Village. Miss Major Griffin Gracie, better known as Miss Major. Miss Major was revered as a guardian elder of the transgender community and one of the most significant pioneers of today's trans rights movements. Major is a 90-minute documentary about her life. It garnered 19 festival awards and may be found on some streaming services. Learn more at missmajorfilm.com. Miss Cox, Laverne Cox. Personal Reflection, I Am Trans by Pamela. I am trans. I am alive and breathing. I am not afraid or ashamed. I am neither vulgar, disgusting, gross, perverse, or nor a pedophile. I think, feel, love, and toil, just like you. I am not confused or insane. When I came out as me, all of my guilt, shame, and fear vanished. I am Pam, and have always been. I am not changed. You just know more about me now. I am making my body and my life fit me as it never has before. My feet are sure and strong, as I know the road I trudge is the right one. I will not retreat, nor will I change course. Whether I stand with a fist or cry over foolish whims of fleeting, heartfelt moments, I am real. I am sensitive and compassionate in my mind, heart, and soul. My life is a journey. It is my journey. We either walk forward or we will move back. The only time we stand still, we are dead. Please don't hate on me. I am good and decent people. I am alive and breathing, as are you. Please walk with me or stand aside. My road is not, I will be your friend if you will be mine. My road is not easy, but it is worthy, as am I. Celebrate as I emerge from my cocoon and take flight. I am Pam. I am free. Please take my hand and walk a piece. Sit with me. I recommend this book to anybody. I literally do. Anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live in. Get this book. Even if you have to get it from the library. That's what I did. Yeah. I like that. Don't you like that? I like it. Differences make us special. So classical congenital adrenal hyperplasia, 1 in 13,000 births. Late onset adrenal hyperplasia, 1 in 66 people. Vaginal agenesis, 1 in 6,000 births. Ovotesis, 1 in 83,000 births. Not XX and not XY. Those are our chromosomes. 1 in 1,666 births. Androgen insensitivity syndrome, 1 in 13,000 births. Partial androgen insensitivity syndrome, 1 in 130,000 births. Klinefelter, XXY, 1 in 1,000 births. Hydropasias, urethral opening along the penile shaft, 1 in 2,000 births. Hypospadias, urethral opening between the corona and the hip, 1 in 770 births. Total number of people whose bodies differ from the standard male or female, 1 in 100 births. Total number of people receiving surgery to normalize genital appearance, 1 in 1,000 births. So you think about that. How many people here in the United States, across the world, 1 in 1,000? Think about that for a second. There's millions of people in the world. There's millions of people. There's billions, trillions even. There's millions of people in the United States alone. Think about that for a second. 1 out of every 1,000, myself included. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the tag. Oh, good morning, everybody. Today will be a separate day for my taping for the Pride tag or youth teen tag, I think that Kellie mentioned earlier in her video. So I put together books and media of all types that I will be sharing with you of what I think is interesting, compelling, factual, yet the term really? So, yes. The first book, I haven't read any of these books yet, but I plan to. They're on my physical TBR. And a physical TBR, if you don't know, is like a bookcase, behind me. A bookcase in my bedroom, or bookcases in my bedroom now. Hosting places for books, anywhere, really. That's your physical TBR. And my e-TBR is on my Kindle. Anyway, without further ado, and stop babbling, Kel, right? This book, Yes, You Are Trans Enough. A lot of times in our community, I don't care whether you're lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender umbrella, and queer, questioning, intersex, independent, you don't identify as the norm of male, female, that kind of thing. Allies, point being is that we're all unique. Sometimes people can think of this book as a question mark. Some people can think of it as a statement. Some people can think of it as a sentence. The book I picked up from the library, I wanted to share with you guys. This gentleman really has personally went from one area to another area, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot. I remember back in the day. Yes, I'll put him up. There you go. There you go. Harvey Fierstein was there for me. Not physically, in spirit. He was there for me. He helped lead a lot of people in their path. For instance, the first book, the first movie I've ever seen with him in it was Torch Trilogy Song. And I actually got the movie because I wanted it that much. I remember laying down with my boyfriend at the time, and he wanted to canoodle with me. I'm like, no, let's watch the movie. Let's watch a movie. I've never seen this movie. And it was early in the morning. It was really early in the morning. Anyway, but that was back then, in your 20s. You don't really care about time. You don't. You really don't. Anyway, we watched that, and I fell asleep to watching that. So, but this book it's a memoir of Harvey Fierstein, and he's very cool. You might remember him from Mrs. Doubtfire or Independence Day, La Casual Falls. Another movie that I wanted to mention to you guys is Victoria. That movie is very interesting for the time being. There's so much bad connotation, a bad mix with older gentlemen and ladies that want to be themselves back in the day, and they're very reserved. Like, some of us are somewhat reserved, yet most of us, came from, their leading. The other book that I will be getting to is called Transfigured. Yes, I'll be getting to this as a part of my physical TBR as well. That is Finding Dorothy. On the trans spectrum, or on transgender spectrum, we're like everybody else, but yet we're not, at the same time, we're not like anyone else. The truth about it is that everybody and anybody is not like anyone else. We're all unique. Eleanor Roosevelt, your ring is a great comfort. I look at it and think, she does love me. or I wouldn't be wearing it. Eleanor Roosevelt in 1933 letter to in a letter in a 1933 letter to Lorena Hickok. Wow. You know, it's amazing that we have to live our lives in secret. We do. But we're still here. It amazes me because chanting, God hates fags. I got news for you. I got news for everybody that thinks that God is love. God doesn't hate anybody. It's impossible for God to hate. He doesn't know how to hate. And then there are some religious groups that are totally against people like me. Why? Because I actually share who I am and who I identify as and I live as. Well, it's not in the Bible. Well, there are a lot of things in the Bible that should not be there that you do. Before I get on another tangent, people who lived outside gender boundaries. The Chevalier d'Eon and Mademoiselle de Beaumont were the same person. The truth about it is that we are all human, for one. We're all special and unique, and we all have our different identities. Why can't we all love instead of hate? I mean, I've been spit on. I've been thrown shit at. I've been cussed at. I have been called many different types of names. I won't depress you with what names I've been called in my past. But I'm sure we've all been called it, regardless of identity and orientation. Oh, wow. That's a lot better than the person that was portrayed on the actual movie. Christine Jorgensen? Yeah, that person was a lot better than the person that was portrayed on the movie. Christine Jorgensen, I think we, the doctors and I, are fighting this right away. Fighting this the right way. Make the body fit soul rather than vice versa. Christine Jorgensen in a 1950 letter to friends who knew her transitioning from male body to a female body. That match her gender identity. XGI becomes blonde beauty. Dear Chris, a reporter from the New York Daily News, was the first to contact us, asking for more information, and he was very threatening. I know you must be very distressed and upset that your letter and pictures have been published, but he told us if we didn't give him further material, he'd print the story anyway. After a long talk, we all decided that it would be the best way of presenting the truth. And I'm sure you must feel as we do, that it's best to have been honest. Once they had the story, then to make matters worse by allowing them to slant everything badly. That is what I had for you guys today. We all need to live in an inclusive world. Lifestyle. It's not really even about lifestyle. It's about who we are. It really is. So even with trans kids, when I was growing up, when I was in my early teens, 13, preteen even, 12, 10 years old, 11, and then going into my teen years, I wasn't even thinking this. I was thinking, oh, cool, I'm a young adult. The whole connotation behind adult was young adult. I felt really cool. I was a young adult. I was an adult. And so when I turned 18, it was a whole new story. It's like, I don't really feel any different, And then it was kind of like the rite of passage. But my point being is that can't we live all together, accepting it, appreciating, loving, understanding one another's differences? Can't we do that? I mean, it's 2022. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done things in my life, and it just keeps on getting better and better and better. With time, there's progress. With progress, there's evolution. With evolution, there's change. So that is what I had for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed my segment and tag for hashtag stand with trans kids tag.